being surrounded by so many adults that were so unbelievably willing to share with you was just wonderful. And I mean, just like immediately, like we hadn't known these people for more than a few minutes, and they were like, please, any question that you have, like, I would love to talk to you about it. And you could tell that they meant it.
Welcome to the Skills Exchange podcast. I'm Samoana Matangi, and we have on as guests Amy, Katie, and Casey, and they're all parents of children that are limb different. I'll go ahead and let them introduce themselves. We'll start with Amy. We'll just go in ABC order. So Amy, go ahead and introduce yourself and talk about your child.
I'm Amy Burbank. We live down in southern Utah. We have little Nixon, who is 4. He was born without both of his arms, and then he has some differences in his legs, in his length discrepancies. And we got to go to Skills for Life this year, and we've really enjoyed it.
Awesome, thank you. And then we'll go to Casey. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Casey. Our family lives in Michigan. My husband Matt and I, we have 4 kids. Sean, Ella, Owen, and Maeve. Owen is our son that has congenital limb differences. He was born with all 4 limbs affected. He is also a wheelchair user. And Owen is 9 years old and in 4th grade.
Thank you. And Katie.
My name is Katie. I live in Atlanta with my family. We have 3 kids. The youngest is Hugh, who is 4, and he was born with a complete absence of both arms. He is in pre-K and just learning to live life as he can.
So we have on people that are parents to children, and this podcast is for those out there that may come after us and they might have children that have limb difference, specifically upper limb difference. So we wanted to interview y'all to see how Skills for Life was for you and your children. So we'll go ahead and we'll start backwards. Katie, as a first-time attendee, how was your experience at Skills for Life 7, and did your child enjoy it?
Yeah. Yes. So it was our first time, and we did not know exactly what to expect. We were excited, but a little bit nervous. We had made connections with a handful of families before we got to the conference, but we hadn't had the chance to meet anyone in person. And getting to go to the conference and meet other families and children and adults with limb differences was very profound for us. The conference was just very practical for daily living. And just, we had the opportunity to have so many questions answered that we'd either been thinking about for a long time, or maybe had just been floating around in our minds about like bicycles and clothing and toileting. And it was just like wildly helpful to have folks talk to us about that and to show our child how they live their life. And it was just really cool. It was really special. So Hugh is a little bit, he can be real shy at first. And so he's always, slightly overwhelmed on the onset of a new experience. But he was just immediately like blown away by seeing other people that looked like him, because he had met one older boy with all 4 limbs that were different, but he'd never met anyone who had complete absence of both arms, but total legs and no differences there. And so it was just very cool to watch him interact and kind of soak it all in.
That's awesome. Casey, how about you? How was it for you and how was it for your child?
So Owen and I attended Skills for Life together, just the two of us. And we obviously didn't really know what to expect going into it, especially with this being one of the first Skills for Life that had a much more encompassing kids program. So we were really excited to see like what that was going to look like, how Skills for Life was going to be shifting to like meet the needs of their kid attendees, and just like the pivot and adjustments that were being made so that more people with limb differences could be included at Skills for Life. And it was a really terrific experience. I feel like all of my expectations were exceeded as far as how the kids were incorporated, the content that was shared, the opportunities for relationships, just like how well the kids' programming was too, all of the breakout sessions that we got to do, just such a variety of opportunities and activities and interests to really meet the needs of so many different people. And it was truly such an encouraging experience. I think having exposure to adults and mentors with limb differences is a really important goal that we have as a family, to always just be seeking out other people with like more lived experience than Owen has, and how we can do better as parents, but also how he can glean from other older kids and older adults about understanding what life might look like in the future, but also having somebody to relate to. Because when you don't share, I think, the same disability, or don't have some of the unique needs that people have within the limb difference community, it can be really hard to relate about specific topics. So I think having that and having that exposure is really what made our experience so tremendous. And similar to Katie, Owen can get really overwhelmed and shy in big crowds with like a lot going on. So I'm just hopeful that the more time that we spend with the Skills for Life community, just the more relaxed and comfortable he'll feel, and that he'll continue to be able to grow and just get a lot out of the experience.
That's awesome. All right. And Amy, as a first time attendee, how was your experience at Skills for Life, and also did your child enjoy it?
Well, I feel like anything that we'll say at this point will kind of be a redundancy, just because we seem to have had very similar experiences with our children in the first time of going. But one of our takeaways was just how amazing we felt with the people and how comfortable it was so quickly. We were kind of talking before we went, just like wondering if it would be like kind of like, you know, when you meet someone new and it's just like kind of awkward and you're like, yeah, it just kind of felt more like home very quickly, and we were just so quickly embraced and included in everything. And there was no expectation to explain away Nixon to anybody. He just was so accepted, and I think that made him blossom really quickly. He is not a child to be shy in any situation. He's the life of the party anywhere he goes, but he did seem to be kind of overwhelmed with how many people there were that had assistive devices, or that just looked like him, because he's never seen anybody else really. Like there's some kids in our community, and we're really lucky. There's some kids in our community that have other limb differences, but nobody looks just like Nixon. And so I think that it kind of took him back a little bit, but he warmed up so quickly because I think he just felt so comfortable. And he continues to talk about all the people that he's met and his friends, especially actually Hugh and Owen. I just told Casey the other day that Nixon was talking about Owen and talking about how they're buddies. And but my biggest thing was, since we've been, I feel like I have this different view of the limb different community. I've seen some statistics online and just about like different how the rarities of the limb differences, and especially with Nixon. And for me, it surprises me, because now that I know so many people and that we have this community, it just doesn't feel like he's one in a million. It feels like we have this community and he's just like anybody else. And So I just forget now because we just feel like we have so many more people to rely on and that we relate to.
That's good to hear. Everyone had pretty good experience. The next question is, what was your favorite thing about Skills for Life 7? And if your child expressed a favorite thing, but I want to change it. I like the format of roses and thorns. Like, what was the favorite thing, and maybe something we can improve for next Skills for Life. And then we're gonna start with Casey first, and we'll go in that order.
I think that there were quite a few things that we really loved. Owen specifically counted down the time of the weekend until he could do adaptive gaming. Owen loves playing video games. He loves gaming. That also feels like a community that's like really relatable to him. And the way he describes it is, it's like, Mom, I can do everything that everybody else does in gaming, where that's not always his experience out in the world. So to then have somebody come in and like do adaptive gaming and have something that felt like cool and important to him, that was fun. So watching him like with just a lot of joy doing the adaptive gaming was really fun. And then Owen, which it's funny because Owen's rose in this instance might be my thorn, because he was really excited to swim and the pool was freezing for those that experienced that. So I tried to be a really good sport and get in the pool with him and swim, because he really is such a terrific swimmer, and that is a skill that he's really proud of. Because water, I mean, I can only imagine water can be really scary for somebody who doesn't have all of their limbs. Like, how do I keep myself safe? And we've worked really hard to make sure that all of our kids have like important swim skills. So for him to be able to share that and show that off at camp, I think was really fun for me and for him. But I definitely had a lot of adjustments when it came to the temperature. And then I think the other thing that that I would just love, like I'm so excited to see grow and improve more as Skills for Life continues, is just the development of the kids programming and how many kids attend. So one of the things that Owen would have really loved is more boys his age to be able to spend time with and get to know and exchange information with. And I think just like the vastness of how many adults attend Skills for Life versus how many kids are in attendance, that is something that Owen would really love to see evolve over the years of Skills for Life, is more kids and more boys his age that he can connect with.
Awesome, thank you. And Amy, we'll go to you. How about you? What was your rose, thorns, and for Nixon?
I think for Nixon, he really loved a few things. He did count down till we could swim, because he is such a little fish. We live near 2 different lakes, and we're there all summer long, and our living where it's super hot. We have so many people with pools, and so he's just growing up in the water, and he was so excited, and the temperature did not seem to affect him. And that is where I was very grateful that my husband was there, because my husband got in the pool with him and I didn't have to. But it was really good for me to see everyone else swimming, to see the way that could look for Nixon, because so far we haven't really been able to find anybody that would work with him and help him learn to do that. And so it was nice to see what maybe some skills that we could work on with him on. And then my favorite was for the kids. So they did like a different groups of dressing skills. And with the kids, they brought in dress up. And Nixon has the biggest imagination in the world. And he loved all the dress up stuff. And so it was fun to see his little personality kind of spark and go. But and although he didn't really participate in like the dressing of himself, because he was still so little, he now has started some of those skills, and it kind of takes me back to when we started learning those things and him being able to see that it is possible for him. So that was my favorite thing. I don't know exactly if it's a thorn, There was just a lot, and it's not, how do I put this? Nixon was really little when we went, so he was still like 3.5, and he didn't have a lot of the skills that he even has now. And so it was harder just for younger kids that are like that toddler age, where they're not quite in that area of their development to participate in some of those activities, like some of the kitchen stuff or the dressing. And so it's just things that will serve him better when we are older and he can kind of have more of the ability to do that.
All right, thank you. And finally, Katie, what are your roses and thorns for Skills for Life, and Hugh, if you know them, share them.
So I think for me, one of my highlights was getting to sit with other parents of kids with limb differences. And I just remember like I had a moment with another mom where we were talking about the birth of our children who were both born with like complete absence of arms. And she was telling me her story and she just looked at me and was like, I've never talked to someone who like has had the same experience of like that birth story and the hospital and like all just the whole, just all of it. And just this moment of like connection for us of like, yeah, you understand like what that was like and like just the whole process. And so it was just really awesome to connect with other parents who are living through like the same experiences and stages that we are. And obviously not all exactly the same, but more than our like immediate community, which embraces us, but you know, we don't have anyone that looks like Hugh or that resembles our family here. So that was just a very special moment. So those connections made with other families. I think I could see how there's so much potential for the conference to grow when it comes to families. We brought our whole family. We have 2 daughters that are 8 and 10 now. And so seeing there were like a handful of other siblings there. And so just thinking like, man, this is just such an awesome experience for the whole family. But also, right, like the kids program is still growing. And so what does it look like for siblings and for like the little kids? We had the luxury of having my parents come with us, which I would like plug as, you know, sort of a recommendation if folks can go, like, and if they can have someone if their children are small, because like Amy mentioned, there was just like a lot more content than I realized. And there were a few things that I was like, ooh, I would like to attend that. And like the kids either like it's not appropriate for them or like would rather be at something else during the same time. And we had that ability because we had some childcare with us. Which were otherwise, you know, and obviously you're always going to be picking and choosing, but that made a difference for us. For Hugh, he loved the biking session and he got lots of attention and like he was just like kind of basking in the glow of seeing others ride bikes, which is like a big thing in our family. And we haven't, you know, really known what it looked like. He's really small for his age. And so his size is also an issue when it comes to adaptive things. And so we were just really blown away by like all the OTs and all the team workers that were there to find something that would work for him. And like they had something and it was just like pure joy on his face of getting to ride bikes with other kids and adults and just, you know, be in the middle of that. I don't know if I would say that he necessarily has something that he didn't like. He had just turned 4. So, you know, he's probably going to be a little bit overwhelmed no matter what until he gets a little bit older, or that will continue. But overall, those were our highs and lows.
Great. I think those ideas that you guys expressed they're pretty important for everybody, like making connections and knowing that you're not alone and finding the thing that you like and a way to do the thing you like. I'm still learning how to play video games like I used to, but and someday I'll figure it out. But it's fun to do the things that everyone else is doing. We're talking about outlook on your child's quality of life and how it's changed since Skills for Life 7. We'll start with Katie first.
For us, just echoing a little bit the reality of being able to see and speak with adults with limb differences, and like either talking to them about how they live their life or just interacting with them, was more uplifting than I think I realized it would be. Just for us feeling a lot like, our lives, we're all kind of making it up as we go, right? Like no matter what your child looks like, but some more than others. And so being surrounded by so many adults that were so unbelievably willing to share with you was just wonderful. And just like immediately, like we hadn't known these people for more than a few minutes, and they were like, please, any question that you have, like, I would love to talk to you about it. And you could tell that they meant it, and we had the opportunity. And it was just like, okay, you're telling me like just these really small details of like, this is how you wear a watch. And so just a different kind of turn in like the wheel of your brain of like, this is how Hugh's life will be, and this is how our life will be. And also just really blown away by the joy in the room. The folks like that were born with limb differences were all extremely joyful, and we were the benefactors of that joy as we listened to them talk. And it was just really nice to walk away and be like, that was not only extremely helpful, but like I am uplifted just by being in the room. And Hugh, we know that will be impactful for him, like every single time, like Casey was saying, being around people with limb differences that are like him of all different ages, like we know that is going to make a huge impact on his life.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Casey, as far as Owen's outlook or your outlook on Owen's future life, how does that look since Skills for Life 7?
Like Katie said, I think the willingness and the vulnerability of coming to Skills for Life just has like such an impact on you, and you can't help but be encouraged by what your kiddos' outlook and kind of experience and development, aging, all of these things will look like moving forward by seeing it represented through so many people that come to Skills for Life. So that really helps, because it's hard to not have like people surrounding you with similar experiences that you're doing life with on a regular basis. So yeah, like Katie said, in a lot of ways we're making this up as we go. But then to see it represented by like such a large population at Skills for Life, it's like, okay, like maybe I don't have to worry as much as I thought I did. Like, even if there's hard things, and even if there's things that I can't figure out or aren't maybe applicable to Owen, like this gives us an opportunity to figure it out, right? Like there's no end of the road or like hopelessness. And I think that Skills for Life actually met Owen and I both in a season of grief coming in, which I don't think is unique to our family. And I think something that probably everybody ventures through at one point or another, and maybe multiple points of this journey. But just the grief of like, what Owen wants to do that it looks differently, what his peers do that he longs to do that might not be possible because of his limb differences. And just how I think his feelings come up at these different developmental stages of just wanting to like be normal and just like not noticeable all the time, right? Like our whole life is spent just like sticking out, answering questions, advocating, educating other people. And he just sometimes has this longing to just do what other 9-year-olds get to do. So in a lot of ways, Skills for Life 7 brought us a lot of encouragement that we needed. We also were just able to like be in our grief during Skills for Life. I'm hopeful that like not every time we have experiences like this will feel like a heavy season, but I think that's okay. And I think that that maybe is the beauty of opportunities like this is like you can come as you are, like if you're in a season of joy or if you're in a season of grief or if you're in a season of confusion, and that what you need will meet you there. So I just think, yeah, just that outlook of it's okay to be wherever you're at when you come and have these experiences and you're amongst this community, because we are going through things that a lot of people don't have to go through. Our world is not designed to support kids and adults that have disabilities and limb differences. There's a lot of having to persevere through things that most people don't have to persevere through. But I think just knowing that that's okay. Whatever that season looks like for you, coming into a community like this and coming into Skills for Life, like that's okay. And that ultimately, like we're going to end up in a good place. And that like none of this is going to be wasted, right? Like it's all going to be used for good, like for the good of Owen's life, for the good of his friends' lives that he gets to go before, and for the people, you know, ahead of Owen who are mentoring him. Like none of this will ultimately be wasted. And I just think that that encouragement is like what carries us through those times that are really challenging, those seasons that are heavy, or when we just feel like, I don't know what this is going to look like. But just having that represented throughout such a huge community of like, we don't have to have all the answers. We don't have to figure it out, but we're obviously going to be okay.
Yeah, thank you. Amy, how about you? How has your outlook on Nixon's life changed after Skills for Life 7?
Honestly, it hasn't changed a whole lot. We've always been kind of very hopeful for what it looks like for him, and he hasn't ever like struggled too much yet. And we are expecting those little blips for him as he starts school and interacts more with other kids. But we went in with kind of open hearts and open minds about what life looks like, and he always has needed a lot of support, and so we kind of just assumed that he's going to need that for a long time, and that he'll always have to be close to us and be pretty dependent on us. We've always had like a goal in mind to not have that, but just of like a reality of whatever he needs, we'll be there for that. But going and getting to talk to so many adults that have grown up the way that Nixon looks, and then been able to venture out on their own and get their own places and get married and have their own children and live on their own and be independent was just really hope inspiring for us, because we just want that for him. We want him to be able to have kind of his own life and not have to depend on us. And we feel like he has a lot of tools for that now, especially through Skills for Life. We got to meet with a lot of people at like the booths that have all different devices for him and things that he can use on his own. And so we've started to explore that a little bit, and just to see the way that the progress that he's made just since October is incredible. So we're very hopeful for his independence going forward.
That's great. I think someday your kids, Owen, Nixon, and Hugh, are going to be those people helping other people down the road. And so it's I have a peer mentor, and his advice to me was like, you don't owe me anything just as long as you help the other person behind you. So it's just looking forward to that those days where your children will be like guides for the next people. And speaking of the next skills for life, we're going to talk about skills for life 8. Say there's a parent out there that is on the fence about attending skills for life 8. What would your advice to them be? And this time we'll start with Amy.
Mine's pretty simple. Just go. I mean, there's scholarships and all kinds of things that you can do to make it happen for your family. It was so eye-opening for us, as we've discussed, and I just think that it's so worth it. Even if you don't walk away with all kinds of new things to help, it's the people. The people is what matters, and I would recommend that anybody that feels like maybe that could be a possibility for them to try and make it happen. There's even some families that we've met online since then that didn't have a chance to go or were on the fence about it this year, and they're hoping to go next time. And so we're gonna stay in touch and hope that we can get them there next time, because we've seen it benefit us so much that we just keep telling everyone that they need to go.
Thank you for sharing. Let's go with Casey. What would your advice be for Skills for Life 8 on any parents that are on the fence?
Yeah, so we actually had like a lot of friends and different families who were considering coming to Skills for Life. Again, like this was kind of the first year that there was such an evolved kids programming. And so I felt really confident in our decision to come to Skills for Life 7, but I couldn't really confidently say to other families like, yes, this is definitely going to be worth it. And having had this experience, that's all I've shared with them so far is like, there were so many things that we could benefit from. There were so many things that we learned. The content was so valuable. The community was so valuable, being able to make new friends. And that's really been my encouragement to friends since Skills for Life 7, that there was just so much available for all ages, for kids, for families, to just glean so much from adults that were there. So I hope that, again, just the population in general can grow for, Skills for Life 8. But more importantly, I'm really excited and encouraged to see how many more kids and families come to Skills for Life 8.
Thank you, Casey. And finally, Katie, what would your advice be for Skills for Life 8 for any parents debating that attendance?
Yeah, I mean, same as the other said, I would definitely say make it a priority. Skills for Life conference is one of the few places where you're guaranteed to be in a room with a whole host of people of all ages that are going to look like your child and that can show them how they live life, and that in and of itself is worth it for us, and to just try to make it a priority and consider, like I mentioned earlier, like see if you can bring somebody with you. It's just it is a lot, but just the opportunity to be in the room, like we know of other opportunities for kids with limb differences, but none of them near us that were like as severe as what he was born with. And that makes a pretty big difference, especially for someone who does either talk about wanting to look like other people or, like I can't do that because I don't have hands and I don't have arms. And so just knowing that you're guaranteed to be around other people that have had shared experiences, both those with limb differences and the families without. That's what I would say.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about how did you hear about Enhancing Skills for Life, the organization? Just one, it helps us figure out, how people are hearing about it, and then maybe we can make an improvement. I'll start with Katie first.
Sure. Ours was through social media. The three of us are members of a small Facebook group for parents of kids with limb differences. And the conference was posted on there and information. And so that was our first sort of just like, oh, this is happening. And so it made me think a lot, like Casey has mentioned, like this is, this was like the first time that they've had more of a kids sort of programming, but just recognizing how many young families are going to get their information from social media, and how easily that is spread. So that was how we learned about it.
And how about you, Amy?
Mine was very similar. It started in that little Facebook group for parents. That's where I met Kelsey, who's got little Maddie. She's on the board, I believe. She invited me to the Skills for Life Facebook group, and that's where it was posted, and we got to learn all about it there. And it was something that we started looking into, and I wasn't super serious about it, honestly. And then I just mentioned it in passing to my husband, and he's like, we gotta go to that. And it worked out for us, and it was a benefit. So it was through Kelsey, and we're very grateful for the friendship there, and just like her reaching out and pulling us in.
And Casey?
Yeah, we actually had a friend that attended Skills for Life 6. So it's been, 3 years of her talking about their experience. I remember like very vividly when they went, and I'm like so excited to do something like this, and had been looking forward to it all of this time in between 6 and 7. So when 7 rolled around, I was like, we have to do whatever it takes to be able to get there, because I don't want to have FOMO about not going to Skills for Life 7. So we made it happen. And I think that like Katie said, social media is super powerful, but I also think word of mouth is so powerful, and just people being able to share their experiences, like that's the best testimony for an organization, for a program, for a conference. And we just had a friend that was really encouraged by the experience, and I knew it was something that we had to take advantage of. And also just like how well Skills for Life, or like Enhancing Skills for Life, cares for families, like how they make it possible for us to get there and to attend. And we were just really blessed to be a recipient of a scholarship to be able to come to Skills for Life that made it possible. So I think that like intentionality behind like really wanting people to be there, and also just like the testimonies of other people who have experienced it before, that all of those things are so powerful, and just create such an atmosphere for making it possible for families like ours to get there.
All right, that's great. Sounds like people saying good stuff about it, right? And it's good there's social media, just because everyone can stay in touch that has a child that's limb different. I had a couple more questions. Did any of your children make friendships that still continue, like through pen pal or Zoom calls or whatever? Let's start with Amy first.
Yes. So we watch videos of Maddie all the time, and Nixon asks about Hugh. Every time that he wears a shirt with a collar, he says, "Am I wearing Hugh's shirt?" And I'm like, "No, baby, you're not." I'm like, "But I look like Hugh." Like, sure, yeah. Because Katie and I had talked about different clothing options for the kids, because when they don't have anything up here, it just falls off constantly when they wear t-shirts, and the polos just help so well button them up, and they look so dapper. And so he loves it because he looks like Hugh. And like I had mentioned, he was asking about Owen, and I'll share some specifics about that. This boy loves country music, and we were listening to Watching You by Rodney Atkins, and it talks about how his son is his buckaroo. And so Nixon's in the back seat. He's like, "Mom, what's a buckaroo?" I'm like, "A buckaroo is kind of like a buddy." And he goes silent for a little bit, and he's like, all of a sudden he goes, "Mom, Owen's my buckaroo." It's like, because I'm his buddy and he's my buddy, so we're buckaroos. And he was just like so excited about it, and he talks about Owen all the time. He looks up to him so much. And so we love having the people that he looks up to and is so excited to see again. He asks all the time when we're going back to Texas, and he doesn't quite register that it's Skills for Life 7 and Texas, so we just refer to it as Texas. And so when I ask him about his favorite things, he talks about some other things that we went and did, and but he really loves all the people that we met, and he is really excited. And we have swapped Christmas cards, and we get to watch videos online every now and then of people doing things, and he just loves it.
That's awesome to hear. Katie, how about for you?
Yes, definitely. I think Maddie was the first friend that he'd made going into Skills for Life. And actually, the conference started on Hugh's birthday. And so when we got to Houston, we basically went straight to Chuck E. Cheese. And Kelsey brought their family and Maddie. And so it was like this very cute moment for them to meet. And then we went into the conference and he like made more friends, like hanging out with Nixon and then Owen and like the bigger boys. I do feel like he was a little bit less aware of. He's like, who's on my level? But at the same time, we, like I mentioned, we had my older daughters. And so we met a girl that is my oldest age, Kinley. And so the girls were just like, oh my gosh, thank goodness there's a girl here that's our age so we can hang out with her. And so it's really cute to see like our whole family kind of attach themselves to her and be like, yes, like we must be here to like for each other at the conference, which is really sweet. So it's kind of like all three of my kids asking about her. But yeah, it's really fun. And then like also benefit of like Instagram is being able to show your kids videos that the parents post is pretty nice.
That's great. Casey, how about for Owen?
Yeah, so there was like a couple of friends that Owen was excited to see at Skills for Life that we had previously met. I think meeting Nixon in person was definitely like a highlight for us at Skills for Life. And again, I think that there was like a little bit, or Owen felt a little bit of a gap when it came to peers his age to be able to connect with. So I'm hopeful that that evolves a little bit. But I think the other thing that this question just made me think about is that I would love to see like intentional mentorships created at Skills for Life, so that older adults are able to be like matched with a kid who has a similar limb difference to them. And then in all the time that passes between the two Skills for Life conferences, of being able to like check in with them, have Zoom calls with them, send things back and forth. And I just think that there could be so much value in that kind of intentional mentorship, creating those like opportunities between some of the younger kids and some of the young adults or older adults that have a little bit more of those lived experiences. I think that for us, having mentors has been one of the most beneficial things that we've seen for Owen, because again, we can give the encouragement or we can say the things, but sometimes it doesn't always fall the same way because he knows that we don't really understand what it's like to live in the unique journey that he has. So I think that could be something worth exploring for the next Skills for Life, is coming in with kind of those pre-planned mentoring relationships to just kind of like evolve over the weekend and then continue on, would be something that I know our family would really benefit from.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I think I'm sure that Sean and Kelsey, when they hear this, they'll be like, yep, that needs to happen. So this is a good tie-in for my last question. We always talk about the magic of Skills for Life being that you can meet the people in person, because now you can see them online or see their videos. But being in person is a way different thing than online. And maybe each of you can talk about how, if you've had a mentor online, and then the difference between meeting them in person. And mentor, by mentor, we might be saying kids the same age or adults. So let's start with Amy, and then we'll go to the next person.
We haven't had anyone specifically be a mentor per se, but there are a lot of people that we turn to for questions, and people that we've connected with a little bit better. I know that, like I said, Nixon really looks up to Owen, and so when he is learning to walk and running around, like he reminds me a lot of Owen, and so we watch videos of Owen that Casey has sent, and he loves that. But there's a couple. Her name is Anae. We reached out to them a couple times. We were able to talk with them a lot, and my husband and Anae's husband were chatting it up quite a bit while we were there, and so Jake will ask about them, and it's just people that we continuously like think about and check in with. There's another mom that lives in like South Africa that we've talked to a lot. Her son looks a lot like Nixon, and so she's come to me, and so it's just been really great to be able to share the experiences. And we're glad that we have the people that we do, and that people are so willing to share and be open with what they've been through and what life looks like for them. We have a really great community down here of people that support Nixon, and we don't have to outsource very much, so we're very grateful for that. But we are also so impressed with the amount of people that are willing to answer our questions when we do have them. And a lot of the questions that we've had actually I talked to Kelsey a lot beforehand, and that's kind of the only one that I've ever really reached out to. I think Casey and I swapped some comments on some other posts in the parents group, and it just seems so much more formal on social media rather than when you're there in person. It just becomes more comfortable and kind of homey. It's just it just is so much more relaxed and casual than you would be online, because you can truly get to know somebody, and like their like just the way that they talk, and the way that I talk with my hands, obviously, and just the way that they do things and their mannerisms, and it's just so much easier to relate to people when you're there in person rather than just shooting a text here and there or swapping comments.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll go to Casey and then Katie. So Casey, could you talk about your experience with mentors online, and then how much different it is to be in person?
Yeah, for sure. So our like primary mentoring relationship hasn't overlapped with Skills for Life, as far as both being at Skills for Life at the same time. But we're really fortunate that Owen has a mentor that actually lives close to us in Michigan, and he does like quite a bit on social media, has like quite a big following, talks a lot about just like kind of the normalcy of his life, a lot of misconceptions that people have about limb differences, about maybe how limiting it is or the lack of independence that they may have, and just kind of like dispelling a lot of those misconceptions about disability. He has like a company too that they run specifically about access for different businesses, and just like the importance of accessibility, and just like all of the accomplishments that he has made as an adult, just as an encouragement to the people around him who kind of like I think our society discredits people with disabilities, for one, but then two, just being an encouragement to other families and kids with disabilities, by just representing like, hey, I just do a lot of things that you would expect most adults to do. And that has been tremendous for us. But then being able to take that relationship like off of online and have him come over to our house, spend time with us, just invest in Owen. And you know, Owen is a kid that like feels things really deeply. He's very intuitive. He's very perceptive of the world around him. And so when we've kind of needed more of that like emotional support, it's been hard to seek it out from even professionals, because they just don't really understand the unique lived experience that Owen has. And so we, have the fortune of being face to face with Owen's mentor and having him over again, like I said, and being just included in so many life opportunities, like just doing life together. But then we're also able to like get onto phone calls with him and onto FaceTime, and Owen can share things like, hey, I'm walking through something that's really hard right now, this feels really uncomfortable. Like, I don't like having this level of vulnerability in my life, or having to be vulnerable to other adults to help meet my needs when I'm not at home, when I'm at school. And just having that mentor for him to just like speak encouragement into him. And sometimes like it's also can be like a little bit of tough love, like, hey, this is hard, but like you can do hard things, which just feels different coming from mom and dad, than it does coming from somebody who has walked the same path that Owen is walking now. So honestly, we've gained so much from that. I can see how it personally benefits somebody who has a personality like Owen, who needs really that lived experience to be able to take away some of that feedback or some of that encouragement. And then just like, I honestly like watching them play video games together. Owen likes to wrestle with his mentor. That's like his like one of the best things that they do. His mentor Ryan has included Owen and another local friend close to us in a ton of things that they've done as far as like campaigns that he's been a part of. And like he got to be in part of like a documentary about Ryan. He got to be in a commercial that they did for some accessibility features with Amazon. And just having that like inclusion of they've, been videoed together, they go swimming together, they just get to hang out. And I think that just means a lot to Owen. He's just a kid that really, really values that. So having both, those exposures and relationship online, but also just how much more meaningful it is having, that mentor. And I'm hopeful for other mentors down the road too, to be in our life. I can just see like the priceless benefit that it brings Owen and our family, honestly.
That's great and fortunate that you have a mentor locally.
Yeah.
Katie, how about for Hugh?
Yeah, I think of this question kind of twofold. Thinking as far as like Hugh having a personal mentor, we're not quite there yet. Like hopefully we can get something that would be sort of a solidified, like that's who you look to. We met lots of people, ages and stages, that are like would be amazing, and then maybe we can make it official as you guys work on a program. But then I also was thinking just as far as like as far as the mentoring question goes, thinking about for myself and my husband, and thinking about how the conference offered a very, sort of like, it wasn't called mentoring, but like a casual sort of opportunity to talk to people who could speak to you as sort of mentor mentee. And I had the opportunity to meet online some other moms through a Skills for Life video call last year, and getting out of the internet and into the room with these other moms in particular, in a room where you could be a little more vulnerable and interacting face to face, was extremely valuable. Because like I mentioned, like obviously it was really joyful, but there was a heavy dose of, like the real and the hard of what it looks like for your child who's living with limb differences, and what that looks like for your family when you're living in a world that is not made for people without hands. And so I just was thinking about that too, as far as like the mentoring question goes. Hugh is definitely someone who just like lives in his own bubble, and so the value of getting around others and having the opportunity to be around people that are older with him, like even if that's just a few years or 50 years older, definitely is something that Skills for Life offers that is just really different than any other space that we've been in.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing your experience about Skills for Life, and Thank you for sharing things that we can improve on. Appreciate your time. And I hope that, someday some parents are watching this video and they go, Skills for Life 8 is just around the corner. Maybe I should give it a shot. And so with that, I want to say thanks for listening or watching the Skills Exchange podcast, and we'll see you next time.